Welcome back. This is the news review segment. And of course, I have my in-house guest, Mary Poppins, in her black and white. That's a lovely white dress.
Thank you, Ben.
I mean, the undersleeve before the black.
Rocking
it this morning.
Yes, possible.
As always. Well, before we get into our news review, let me tell you about Compu Ghana's Cashback, which has been named the Prime Cashback Season. And it's packed with goodies, incredible deals, and exciting surprises, all for you. Now, this Prime Cashback, Compu Ghana is bringing you exclusive discounts, prime savings, awesome surprises when you shop for products from any of their branches nationwide. You can find products from your favorite brands. Which is your favorite? Is it Samsung, LG, TCL, HP, Lenovo, Dell, Midea, Nasco, Tecno, Infinix, Itel, Huawei? All of those are available. So just visit any of the Compu Ghana branches nationwide and enjoy exclusive discounts on all their products. Compu Ghana has a wide range of IT-related products, from mobile phones, electronic products such as laptops, printers, desktops, tablets and televisions, to fridges, home theaters, air conditioners, gas cookers, and more. Now, what's more amazing is that this year's Prime Cashback with Compu Ghana has got great prizes with instant gifts and cash prizes for your shopping experience. When you shop at Compu Ghana this season, be on the lookout for the surprise team, answer a question correctly, and then you get to win instant cash and gifts. You deserve this opportunity too. Rush to Compu Ghana now. The promo runs from now till December. Visit CompuGhana.com or call 0302 752 020 for more information.
Well, let me also tell you about Medicas Hospital. It's a modern healthcare facility built with your recovery in mind. Spacious wards built with your family in mind. A warm and caring pediatric unit built with your children in mind. And we've assembled some of the brightest minds in medicine, led by Dr. Yao Osafo, the drive-time doctor, to serve you. And we offer general medical services as well as specialist services in plastic surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, child health, urology, psychiatry, and eye care. Additionally, we offer a comprehensive medical diagnostic service encompassing endoscopy, medical laboratory services, x-rays, and scans. There is also a 24-hour pharmacy that ensures you will always receive efficacious, safe, and affordable medicines. But above all, we bring to you the most powerful medicine of all time, simple human kindness and empathy. And we take pride in holding ourselves to the highest attainable standards. Guess what? We accept all forms of payment, including from private health insurance companies. Where can you locate Medicas Hospital? At number 10 Kingston Street, near Ashalibutwe School Junction. Or you can simply call 0501-477-340 or reach us on social media at Medicas GH. Medicas Hospital, a place of healing. That brings us to the start of the AM review this morning. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante joins us. He's the head for the Center of European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, welcome to the show.
Morning to Ben and our cherished viewers as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Doc. And there's a lot happening in the country this morning, so I'm curious to know what you will be sharing with us. So let's get into your take now.
Yes, there's a lot. I wish I'll have the whole day to discuss a lot of issues, but time will not. I'll touch on one. I want to look at the event that took place on the special voting, where people were giving food items, people were taking pictures. Somebody was apprehended for taking a picture of himself whilst voting. That is the ballot, taking a picture of the ballot and all that. We are talking about free and fair elections. By definition, when we say free and fair elections, we are talking about elections devoid of irregularities, such as what? Rigging, violence, and then the breach of the laws governing the electoral processes. So any of these put us into that realm, and it undermines what the election that we are talking about. We are not talking about any other election. There are different types of elections, but the one we have signed for as a state is what? Free and fair election. Election devoid of irregularities. So when you undertake any of such actions, it is irregular. You corrupt people through money, through gifts, through food. It's all part of what? Corruption. and it's part of what the inducement processes. We don't take kindly to that. The law, the Representation of the People's Law, that is a PNDC Law 284. And if you look at the Representation of the People's Law, Section 33, 34, make it what? Abundantly what? Clear that once you go on that route, you have crossed the line. There are sanctions. So I will urge people to stay away from that. The scenes that we saw, food being distributed, and security people coming in to take the food, and then other people in there, was a sorry story. These are officers of the law for that matter.
Right.
They should be able to enforce the law rigidly, and they themselves were complicit in it. What is going to happen on the 7th? We hope and pray that we don't see that ugly spectacle.
Thank you
the
so much,
allegation against the MP that she was the one distributing food items, and he came back that he was not anywhere in the scene and all that. We saw the video and all that. And the good news is that the Office of Special Prosecutor is interested in the matter. We want to get to the finish line relative to this issue. Why am I saying this? Because time and again, when there are breaches about electoral processes and these things are reported, we don't see the finality of it. At the end of the day, after the election, they throw them away and nobody hears about this. So every time there are problems that confront us, when we are going for election, we are worried about it. Immediately after the election, we forget about them, only to such issues revisit us when we are going for another election. That's not good enough. Let us remember that we can be we can be lucky all the time. We should be able to do the right things if we want to save this democracy.
If we want to save this democracy, Ben, except you have some thoughts, I want to get into the Daily Graphic.
No, let's go.
Let's go, right. I mean, they're all election-related stories. I have the Daily Graphic, and on the front page, economy strong will benefit all, according to the finance minister. Shraj deploys 300 election observers. And on 3 days to the general election, zero tolerance for violence. Security task force sounds warning. And there's a photo here of Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare. Students Loan Trust opens application portal for 2024-2025 academic year. If you're interested, please do well to stay for the details. EC cautions media against declaring election results. This is very important. Let's get into the stories. I want to begin from zero tolerance for violence by the Security Task Force. The National Election Security Task Force, led by the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, has declared zero tolerance for machoism and the wearing of uniforms of security services by non-security personnel during the upcoming December 7th elections. And this was happening at a crunch meeting with political parties in Accra yesterday. On the economy, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam says the economy is strong and will benefit all. That story is on page 11 of the Daily Graphic, and I want to get into that. The Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, has stated that the economy is recovering strongly and faster on account of the structural reforms that have firmly been instituted. He said since the country signed on to the International Monetary Fund, that's the IMF, program in May last year, the government had been implementing key fiscal, monetary and real sector policies, as well as structural reforms to address the difficulties the economy faced in 2022, largely on the back of global shocks and as domestic vulnerabilities. I'll put a pin in that. I'll come to you, Doc, briefly. EC cautions media against declaring election results. The Electoral Commission has warned media houses to desist from declaring the results of the December 7 polls or risk being arrested and prosecuted for the offense. The Commission said the media might call or project the trend of the December 7 polls, but could not declare the results, insisting that only the EC reserve the right under the law to declare results of the elections. And the final story I want to do now, Shraj deploys 300 election observers. The Commissioner on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Dr. Joseph Whittle, now I think we brought you that story this morning in our AM News bulletin. The Commissioner has deployed 300 observers nationwide to monitor this year's elections on December 7th. The observers will be stationed at the various polling stations where the commission has officers to monitor various issues bordering on the right to vote. These are the main stories I will do, but before I come to you, Doc, let me just run through some headlines. Use technology to enhance skills, improve society. We will finish uncompleted project in the Ashanti region, Mahama assures Otumfor. And vote for Bawumia, verdict to improve country's conditions. The Electoral Commission's burden, this is an editorial, and so many other stories. Doc, your reflections.
Yes, I will look at the EC and then their caution to the media that they should not declare results. That is a right call. That is what the law says. The best the media can do is to call the election, but you cannot declare results.
Yeah.
So I want the media to take it seriously and abide by the rules of the game. But the EC should also extend the same information to political parties, where we have seen time and again that they come out and also would declare themselves as winners. It started off from the late J. Obete-Bilante's time, and this thing continues up to today. They should stop that. We are not going to countenance that at all in this election. And because we are serious about this democracy, I am particularly worried because there are threats against our democracy from the sub-region we find ourselves. So we should do everything possible to protect this democracy.
Right.
Then the two. My second point is what? The Security Task Force, Election Security Task Force, and zero tolerance for violence. I support them in that call. That let us all make sure that we have the right, which the Constitution what gives to us, that we can exercise our franchise, exercise in peace, without any violence at all. There is no point going to a place with a cutlass or a club. It doesn't make sense to anybody. Please, anybody who crosses the line, let the security be firm and deal with that person. But we also want to tell the security that the shooting that took place in Techiman, we don't want a repeat of that, where we lost 8 people and as if nothing has happened. It's a blot on our democracy, and we don't want a repeat of that. We will support the security to do the right thing, but we also want them to take note of that let them use the law, nothing but the law, to address these issues. And the third issue is the economy is recovering.
Yeah.
Good news, because when the economy is healthy, it robs off every sector of the Ghanaian society, and we are better off. But I ask myself, if you see the joy and the smiles in the faces of the finance minister and those managing the economy, that we are doing this, we are doing this. If you look at it, anytime IMF comes in, you see our people being serious and they go by the rules of the game. Why? On our own, we mismanage the economy. And then IMF comes in and we are saying that they say do this because they will not allow mismanagement. They will ensure strict discipline. Why can't we on our own ensure that so that we don't go to IMF? Food for thought for Ghanaian managers of the economy. Then Shraj and their observers.
Yeah.
Good thing. We want more of such institutions to be able to be part of the system of the electoral processes so that it enhances the election credibility and then gives people hope that we have a system that can stand the test of time. And remember that when they do all these things, they write reports and that go to define the country. So I'll urge our people that we should not do anything that will undermine the fortunes of this country, because when observers go around and they pick things that are negative, of course they report all the positive things, but the negative things too, they report them. They become somewhat blot on our democratic credentials. This democracy means a lot to us, and it is the only game in town.
All right, Doc. Let me just read out these headlines. Government upgrades nationalism pack to boost tourism. And like I said earlier, Student Loans Trust opens application portal for 2024-2025 academic year. It said students in institutions which reopened in September, October could go ahead and apply. And that application who had secured their admission letters but were finding it difficult to raise funds to take a place in the institutions could also apply for the Student Loan and Trust Fund to pay on their behalf. Ben, let's get into your paper now.
Well, I'll start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. December 7 polls, Election Security Task Force talks tough, declares zero tolerance for machoism, uniformed non-state security personnel on election day, and establish sovereign legal system to prevent ICC intervention, AG to African nations. There's also economy remains on strong positive trajectory. That's the finance minister. And then EC clears journalists with accreditation to access constituency, regional, and coalition centers. On the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, KIA passengers to use e-gate by year ending. That's according to the Veep. Eco3 concept unveils 7-year project to project Volta Lake. So let me get into the stories now. I'll start with the one on page 10 before I go to page 12 and maybe page 13. All right, so we already know that Shraj has slammed the Ayawaso West Wuogon MP for distributing food to voters. That story is on page 9. And Doc, you were talking about the 8 in Techiman, but not all 8 were in Techiman. I mean, there were some who lost their lives in the last election who were actually from right here in the Greater Accra region. But
okay.
TUC, others call for peaceful elections. That's also one worthy of mention. Now, journalists issued with the Electoral Commission's photo accreditation cards can access the constituency and regional coalition centers this Saturday for the December 7 presidential and parliamentary election, the EC has announced. Now, following internal discussions and consultations with key media personalities, the Electoral Commission is pleased to announce, that's the Commission speaking, to the media and to the general public that media persons assigned photo accreditation to cover polling stations will be able to use the same accreditation to cover constituency and regional coalition centers. A statement issued by the electoral body said in Accra. Of course, initially there were some issues with the number of people who had been granted accreditation, but now I guess there's a resolution to that matter. Then there's page 12, the finance minister, something we did today in the news. Economy remains on strong positive trajectory. Now, the country is expected to receive before the end of the week the 4th tranche of $360 million from the IMF under the extended credit facility with the fund. This follows Ghana's successful completion and the approval of the IMF Executive Board of the 3rd review of the 36 months, that is the $3 billion ECF with the IMF to ensure macroeconomic stability. And this, of course, was put forward by the finance minister. It's a good thing that we are making some progress, but it's also laughable for me sometimes how we celebrate the very basics. We get crumbs and we celebrate. I always say that we have no business being here as an economy. And I don't want to cite certain examples, but Argentina comes to mind today. An article that was shared with me. And when I read what within a few months, just about a year, has happened versus what we tout in this country, then it makes you wonder how long it will take us to catch up with some other countries. And I'm not talking about a country that is somewhere in the West. I'm talking about, you know, when it comes to poverty and other dynamics, usually there are some comparabilities, though Africa is, you know, we have a peculiar problem. There are some comparabilities with Latin America and the Caribbean. So I'm talking about that side of town, not the West, okay? There's also this story, establish sovereign legal system to prevent ICC intervention, that is the AG to African nations. But let me just do this final one, and then I'll come to you, Doc. The National Election Security Task Force, led by the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akuffo-Dampare, has declared zero tolerance for the phenomenon of machoism and the wearing of uniform by non-security personnel during the upcoming December 7 general elections. I think there was one who was caught in the last special voting. This was communicated to the political parties during a meeting on Tuesday, December 3, 2024, between the task force and political party leaders at the police headquarters to address outstanding security concerns after their earlier engagement on November 21, 2024. It goes on to mention other measures that are being taken to ensure peace prevails and sanity also prevails. Quick reflections, Doc?
Yeah, I'll start with the EC and the media accreditation. I am happy that they've made a U-turn. That is how it ought to be, because the policy they were bringing out was nothing but a bogus one. They found the need to change it, fine. But next time, they should reflect upon this and then involve stakeholders. If you read good governance, the concept of good governance very well, you come across what? Stakeholder participation. The essence of that is that if you involve stakeholders in any important issue, they discuss and arrive at a decision, they own that decision so that anytime that decision comes under attack, they are there to defend. And that is how we govern any civilized society. So I think they will take note of that. Then the issue of TUC and calling for free and fair elections is a good call, but we always want such institutions to begin to talk when things get out of hand or when we are seeing certain negative things rearing their ugly heads in the electoral process. You don't wait till the last time. I'm not saying that they waited for the last time, but there are other allied institutions. They will just sit down last minute and then they call for peace and all that. We all want peace, but let us prepare the grounds well so that not the 11th hour, then you will come and ask for peace and all that. Let us build that process, peace building initiatives, so that when we get there, it's easy for us to achieve that. But I believe that the good people of this country will ensure that there is peace before, during, and after elections. We need peace. Once we destroy this country, there's no other entity called Ghana for us, and we are not ready to destroy our nation. The issue of the Ministry of Finance talking about improvement in economy and all that, I've touched on it, but I'll add more. And that, as Ben, you rightly said, we don't need to be here. If you look at how we manage our finances and all that, I'm not an economist, but a simple mathematics of it tells me that, look, we can do better. Recently, I was hosting a program and I brought a professor of mining to the program and I asked him, what are the benefits of having small-scale mining and all that? He told us that just within a quarter of this year, we've been able to rake in about $2.2 billion. Can you imagine? We are in IMF for crumbs, $3 billion. Meanwhile, the mining sector, if we manage it very well, you can imagine just a quarter employing about 1 million people. What are we talking about in this country? Are we serious as a society? But what I have realized is that our political elites, they know all these things, but the wrong things that you do, they benefit from it. So they always go on that trajectory. We, as a society, should be able to open our eyes clearly. And then those people who cannot manage affairs of our society, we kick them out of politics and maintain those who can do the stuff for us. It's a very simple matter. There was a story, you touched on it briefly, but it's so dear to my heart. The ICC issue, and then I think Attorney General was saying something that if we could do something, we'll prevent the ICC from interfering in our affairs and all that. Yes, if there's something we need to do, we have to do that. Otherwise, they will come in. Because sometimes you realize that you are faced with a situation that the state is not ready to do the needful and all that. You need a bigger force to come in and then deal with that situation. Even though I know that some of these things run counter to the sovereignty of the state. But I tell you, sovereignty is a theoretical construct. It doesn't exist anywhere. Your military might, economic might, and other factors define how sovereign you are. So if we want to play the game, we have to know the rules of the game and abide by them at all times. Then the IGP and the machoism in Ghanaian politics. Beautiful observation and all that. I have observed over the years that the problems that we have, each election comes out with its own problem. We deal with it, and then by the time we end the election, we have introduced another layer of problem into our society. So we solve one and create another one in that fashion. So every time there is something to deal with and all that. We as a society, we have glossed over this, or maybe I would say that we have not even seen that there's this problem. But if we are a serious society and we want to save our democracy, we'll be mindful and be able to look at the political terrain and see what goes wrong. Anything that goes wrong, we need to fix it, and fix it now.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Just some headlines because we have to go. The New Republic says the chickens are coming home to roost. He's weak like a sloth. Oh, Baumia's trusted girl turns against him, starting a campaign. Oh, I remember watching that lady, or Bing also her name is, and She says that from experience of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is not fit to run the country. That's her opinion. Mahama maintains lead in final days, and woman petitioned to Akufo-Addo to remove appeal court judge for alleged misconduct. There's just one story here. Parliament has time to pass budget, Professor Gachi saying. The Dean of the School of Business at the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, has dismissed concerns that the delay in passing the budget for the first quarter of 2025 will disrupt the government's operations. And the economists explain that such issues are not critical at this point, as there is still ample time for Parliament to reconvene after the December 7th elections. And just to chip in that what's happened in South Korea yesterday was actually beautiful to see. I think the president declared martial law, and within hours, the lawmakers had blocked it, and it was reversed, and now they're calling for his impeachment. I think we should get to that point where our lawmakers and our leaders can actually do something like that. Doc, Benjamin, if you have any other stories, we have to go.
Well, then I would get into the Daily Guide newspaper. Bawumia commissions e-gates at Kotoka. African countries need robust legal system. That's according to Godfrey Diabo-Adame. December 7 polls, macho men will be arrested, basically regurgitating the stories in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. IMF approves $360 million for Ghana, and voting NDC will kill free SHS. That's according to Collins Owusu-Amankwa. And of course, I guess we should start referring to some of these as, I don't know whether it's disinformation, because when you've heard someone say something and correct it a number of times and you still insist on it, then it is no longer misinformation, it is disinformation, because you know exactly what you are saying and that it is not what the person is saying.
Yesterday, Brace on Top Story found himself saying A about 4 times because the gentleman was vehemently denying a video that we'd all seen.
Which gentleman was this?
He speaks for Lydia Saramal Hassan. And he said there is no video anywhere on the internet.
Wow.
where we see the woman actually sharing food for people in a queue. And now he was emphasizing on in a queue. Just on the lighter side, man. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we can leave those. What I found interesting was when she was called on another platform. Yeah. Apparently, the video hadn't made the rounds yet, so people hadn't seen it. And it is what it is.
Now people have.
No, I mean, at the time this entity had called her, our video, we had that video. It hadn't started making the rounds. And then, you know, it started and people were putting them side by side. It is what it is. Yeah. I mean, if what I have seen, some may say that, oh, she was standing there, she drank water, then she interacted with some of them and all that. But the people who were, the people who were sharing the food, on whose behalf were they sharing the food? Because she said that in the first instance, she wasn't even there at the time. But Nigeria seeks South Africa's help to join G20 and BRICS. China heads out at U.S. effort to block access to chip technology. India, several dead as cyclone Fengal brings heavy rainfall. We should thank God that some of these, the typhoons and some of these other, you know, force majeure situations don't occur in our part of the world. I don't know how we would have dealt with, you know, typhoons and cyclones and the rest with the way we do things and the way we run our NADMO. South Korean president declares martial law and court upholds death sentence for tycoon in $12 billion fraud case. This is monumental. It's unprecedented in Vietnam. And they've told her that if she can produce 3/4 of the sum of money, they will commute the death sentence to a life sentence. But 3/4 of that would be $9 billion. Can you imagine? Bank fraud up to $12 billion. I started following this story a long time ago, and it's very interesting. But those are the stories, headlines, basically, I'll do from the Daily Guide newspaper. And that's it for me.
Let's give you the final word then.
Yes, I think I'll look at the issue of disinformation. What Ben was talking about proper. We have moved away from the realms of misinformation. It's deliberate effort to deceive people by churning out false news. And these are things that are aberrations that affect free and fair election. Because if you look at the indices for free and fair election, one aspect of it is voter information. The voter is required to have genuine and true information so that he can make informed choice based on that. So if there is somebody within the political space giving false information, that person is an enemy to the open society, and the law must deal with that person.
Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, the head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Thank you for your time. Right, you want to stay with us? Sports is coming up next with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Please stay.